The rain drummed softly against the glass walls of the penthouse, the city lights below glowing like 1,000 restless stars. Inside the sprawling apartment, silence ruled, the kind that felt both powerful and painfully lonely. Alexander Knight, 32, billionaire CEO of Knight Enterprises, stood by the window with a glass of whiskey in his hand. To the outside world, he was the man who had everything: success, fame, respect, and power. But behind those cold blue eyes was a man who hadn't smiled from his heart in years. Since his wife's accident 3 years ago, Alexander's world had narrowed down to two things: work, and his little girl, Lily. Lily was 5, bright, curious, full of sunshine, the only warmth in Alexander's otherwise icy world. Every morning, she would tiptoe into his office in her pink pajamas, holding her teddy bear, and ask, "Daddy, are you going to smile today?" And every morning, he would force one, because how could he say no to the only person who reminded him what love used to feel like? But tonight wasn't just any night. Tonight was the company's annual gala, the most anticipated event of the year, filled with business elites, flashing cameras, and hungry rumors. And this time, the gossip was already thick: Alexander Knight is back on the market. His assistant, Harper, had warned him, "Sir, it'll look bad if you show up alone again. The shareholders already think you're still emotionally unstable." He didn't care much for appearances, until Lily tugged at his sleeve during breakfast and said in her small, serious voice, "Daddy, will you take a friend with you this time? Mommy wouldn't want you to be lonely." Those words, innocent but piercing, broke something inside him. That was when Harper, ever resourceful, suggested an unconventional solution: a professional companion service. "Just for one night," she'd said. "Someone elegant, kind, who can handle the crowd, a fake girlfriend for the party." Alexander had hesitated, disgusted by the idea at first. But later, as he watched Lily fall asleep clutching a photo of her mother, he picked up the phone. Fine. Just one night. The next evening, the elevator doors opened to reveal a woman who didn't look like she belonged in the world of pretense and luxury, yet somehow made the entire marble lobby feel softer. Her name was Emma Brooks. A freelance writer, warm eyes, messy curls, wearing a simple navy dress that made her seem more real than any woman he'd met in years. She smiled nervously and said, "Mr. Knight, I was told I'm your date." Her voice was gentle, uncertain, and something about that vulnerability disarmed him instantly. At the gala, Emma did everything right: polite, charming, intelligent, never overstepping. But what Alexander noticed most wasn't how perfectly she fit in, but how effortlessly she made everyone else comfortable. She laughed with the board members' wives, comforted a waiter who dropped a tray, and even danced with Lily, who had arrived later with her nanny. That was when it happened, the moment everything changed. Lily, twirling in her pink dress, looked up at Emma and said, "You're really pretty. Will you stay with us forever?" The entire room went silent. Alexander froze. Emma knelt down, smiling kindly at the little girl. "Forever is a long time, sweetheart," she whispered, "but I'll stay as long as you need me to." Lily giggled and threw her arms around her neck. Alexander's heart clenched. He hadn't seen his daughter that happy in years. After the gala, when the guests were gone and the penthouse was quiet again, Emma stood by the door, clutching her purse. "Thank you for tonight," she said softly. "I hope I played the part well." Alexander looked at her, really looked, and for the first time in years, the silence didn't feel empty. "You were perfect," he murmured. "Too perfect." He should have let her go. But something in him rebelled, against loneliness, against grief, against logic itself. "Stay for a bit," he heard himself say. "Lily's still awake. She wants to show you her drawings." Emma hesitated, then smiled that same disarming smile. "All right. Just for a bit." Hours passed like minutes. They sat on the carpet, surrounded by crayons and laughter, the city lights flickering through the glass walls. Lily fell asleep in Emma's lap, clutching her hand like she'd known her forever. And Alexander, the man who had forgotten how to feel, realized he didn't want this night to end. When Emma finally stood to leave, Alexander walked her to the elevator. "You made her very happy," he said quietly. "And you?" she asked. He met her gaze, deep brown eyes full of warmth. "I don't remember the last time I felt human," he admitted. The elevator doors opened. She stepped in, smiled one last time, and whispered, then maybe you should try being human again, Mr. Knight. The doors closed, and Alexander stood there, alone once more, but something inside him had shifted. That night, he went to check on Lily. She was asleep, her tiny hand clutching Emma's forgotten bracelet. He smiled, picked it up, and whispered to the darkness, maybe, just maybe. Outside, the rain had stopped. And somewhere in the city, Emma Brooks was staring at her phone, wondering why her heart ached for a man she barely knew. And that was just the beginning of a story that would change 3 lives forever. What happens when a man who stopped believing in love finds it again, not through power, but through the innocence of a child? If you felt the warmth of this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because Chapter 2 will make your heart believe in love again. Red Heart.